So there are two sides to this, and a lot of people will be so quick to jump onto the negative one. The Vancouver Canucks have acquired Evander Kane from the Edmonton Oilers for a 4th-round pick. That's it. It's the same 4th-round pick that the Oilers sent over to Vancouver in the Vasily Podkolzin trade. So essentially, Vancouver sends Vasily Podkolzin to Edmonton for Evander Kane. It's just the Canucks don't get Evander Kane until the last year of his deal. He's making $5.125 million per season till the end of 2026, so the contract expires 1 year from now. And you can say that this doesn't really set the Vancouver Canucks up for any long-term success because all the stuff that's going on with Brock Besser and whether or not he's going to come back, you're just going to have the same song and dance next year with Kane. Now here's the thing. I haven't watched any videos or seen any analysis on this trade aside from the Donnie and Dolly clip, which was posted earlier this morning. So I just want to let y'all know where my viewpoint is and my quote-unquote stance on this happens to be at, and the fact that my perspective hasn't really been shifted or changed by anybody else's YouTube videos or people speaking out about this. This is just my pure reaction. And I know it might be a little bit different from everybody else's because when I saw this trade, I said, oh, Evander Kane to Vancouver for a 4th. That's it? Okay, great. The Vancouver Canucks are getting some legitimate top 6 forward support. Evander Kane, as much of a... Okay, we're not going to use any bad words here because I don't want to get this video flagged. As much as Evander Kane has had personality issues in the past, as much as he has gone through just so many controversies in the NHL, there have been so many issues with this one guy over the past multiple years. Even though the Vancouver Canucks are just coming off of a spot where they cleared up locker room drama with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, the locker room is fragile. This is a team of multiple personalities that didn't really find the best fit last season, and the Vancouver Canucks ended up taking the brunt end of that because they sucked. Even though you can say it is not a good fit, Evander Kane is a much better winger than most of the wingers the Vancouver Canucks have. And that was the first thing that I thought about. I was like, oh, thank goodness. They're actually getting a scorer. They're actually getting a guy who can give them legitimate offensive support. And while there are personality issues with this guy, I think it's more important that the Canucks get scorers, especially if the guy is only going to stick around for 1 year. Now, I know that's kind of a short-sighted point of view. I know that there is the realistic possibility that Patrik Allvin extends this player for whatever it is for the next few seasons and beyond, but Evander Kane, based off of what we have heard from Edmonton Oilers media and reporters, I mean, I'm just going off of what Donnie and Dolly said, but apparently Evander Kane has grown as an individual and has put a lot of those controversies aside. Now, I know he is in the middle of one right now involving the NHL investigating the surgery that he had had and the recovery process that was put into place, but that controversy, quote-unquote, is a lot different than all the other stuff that he has had to deal with and that he has put himself into. I'm not defending Evander Kane's past actions. Him showing up late to practices, Dustin Byfuglien getting into it with this guy, his gambling issues, and then the numerous conversations that have popped up with his ex-partner. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about NHL player reputations around the league? He is down there near the bottom. I'm not going to say that he's a good, squeaky, peachy clean guy. There's a good reason for people to go out there and hate this player. At the same time, it has been reported by Oilers media that he has grown past those issues, and that he has been a lot more, I don't know what's the right word to use here. He hasn't really been as much of a locker room menace previously with the Oilers. He was with them for back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals appearances, and this season he ended up producing 12 points in 21 games as they went to the finals. Sure, he did not produce much in the finals itself. He was mostly just getting into fights and not really doing anything meaningful otherwise, but he was decently to really productive outside of that. Dolly said on the show as well that the Vancouver Canucks knew that they weren't going to go out there and get one of the top free agents. They weren't going to get one of the main dudes who could produce a lot of points. They wanted Duchesne, but he re-signed in Dallas. So they had to make a trade somehow. And Evander Kane was in a spot where he was able to dictate, yeah, I do want to go back to my hometown of Vancouver. I think a lot of us kind of felt that this was inevitable at some point. Evander is always here in Vancouver anyway, so that link, I feel like it's always subconsciously been there for maybe the past decade and a bit. So he wanted to come to Vancouver. And Dollywall did say that there were a number of teams that were interested in acquiring Evander Kane. Because of the situation at Edmonton, they needed to clear up cap space, which we'll get to, by the way. And you also had Bob Stouffer on the show earlier this morning as well, talking about how Evander Kane, I'm just going to use his words here, his words, not mine, Oilers analyst, he said that Evander Kane's a really smart guy. He said that Evander Kane did a lot of charity work with disadvantaged children in the Alberta area. And then Stouffer even says that as far as in the dressing room, to be frank with you, I didn't hear a lot of being, it's a different word there, about Evander Kane from other players. There was some sort of an appreciation to what it is that Evander Kane can bring. Not just the goal-scoring element to his game, not just the point production, not just the fact that he is a top 6 talent forward, but the fact that this guy is also a menace on the ice. He's physical, he's not afraid to fight, he is not afraid to mouth off to opponents, and he can really body check. This is, if you just look at the hockey player itself, the type of asset and the type of talent that he brings to the Vancouver Canucks on the ice, this is almost exactly what the team needs. You take away the name, you take away the reputation, you just think about the skills that he brings and the assets that he has on the ice. This is a very good pickup for a 4th-round pick in Vancouver. It's just the Oilers, they needed to get rid of this dude. They had issues with him. He's being investigated for his surgery recovery time and all that. And he's making $5.1 million a year. So that's a negative for them. That's why they got rid of him for a 4th-round pick. Now 4th-round pick and Vasily Podkolzin will be united at Edmonton together after being swapped for one another a year ago. Whoop-de-doo, that's cool. But to see folks on the Canucks subreddit, for example, like, oh, I'm sick at this trade, I hate this guy, F this guy, he's a POS, there's been such a strong vitriolic reaction. And I guess it just shows the moral compass of a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans. In a way, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate that Vancouver Canucks fans are so emotionally invested in not just icing a good team, but a good group of people. And Evander Kane is a guy who I think can do a lot more work to improve that reputation, especially with the Vancouver Canucks. A team that he has been a fan of his whole life. He even said so on the statement on Twitter. We didn't even read that, by the way. But the biggest issue with this trade is the personality. It is the culture. It is the person being brought into the room. I will say, just one interesting idea that I do subscribe to. It's the fact that, okay, fans are worried about Pettersson and Miller. Oh, that was a problem in the locker room last year. Is that going to be a thing here? Is it going to be Pettersson versus Evander Kane? And honestly, I don't think so. I think JT Miller was a big guy who stood up in the locker room, who wanted to have things go his way. Evander, I don't think he's the kind of guy to take over a locker room in that same way and try to make things his team. He is coming into a new situation. He's got 1 year left. He is playing for his hometown team. He's going to be motivated to make things work. And I'm willing to give it a chance, especially since everything that he brings to the ice is what Vancouver needed. Once we get locker room issues, once we get locker room problems, this is when we're going to make videos about it and talk about how it was a bad trade. But for now, On the ice, the Vancouver Canucks did improve significantly with this trade. Evander Kane for a fourth. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.